The laughter around me blurred into a dull hum as I stared at the shimmering lights strung across the backyard. The autumn wind carried the faint scent of bonfire smoke and spilled soda. Music thumped from a speaker someone had propped on a chair, and clusters of people laughed, danced, or leaned in close to whisper secrets that would be forgotten by morning. I'd been dragged here against my will, another one of those "it'll be fun bro" moments my friend Theo was famous for. But as I stood there, half a cup of warm punch in my hand, something in the air felt off. Then I saw her, Ilara, Theo's older sister. She was standing near the edge of the crowd, her dark blue dress catching the light like quiet water. I hadn't seen her in 2 years, not since she'd left for college. But the second our eyes met, she looked right through the noise, the people, the laughter, and started walking straight toward me. Before I could move, before I could even remember how to breathe, she stopped just a few feet away. The crowd's noise faded, the laughter disappeared, and all that existed was her voice when she said quietly, "You're the reason I came tonight. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in stories that remind us that people can still surprise us, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Because this story, it's about the night that changed everything." I'd known Ilara since high school. She was always that kind of person who seemed slightly out of reach. Theo's confident, beautiful older sister who never looked like she doubted anything. She'd tease me sometimes when I came over, ruffle my hair, call me little philosopher because I was always quiet, always thinking. I used to admire her, maybe even crush on her a little, but that was years ago. Things had changed since then. I wasn't the same person. Back then, I was the kid who messed up. My father lost his job, our house almost went under, and I made a desperate choice. I'd taken something small from the school locker room, a watch. Not because I wanted it, but because I thought I could sell it to help my family. I got caught. Theo found out. Then Ilara, and even though I paid for it, suspension, shame, whispers that followed me for months, it never really left me. People forget rumors, but they don't forget the feeling of being branded. I disappeared into myself after that, barely showing up anywhere, barely talking to anyone. So tonight, being here, standing in a yard full of faces that once judged me, was already punishment enough. Seeing Ilara again? That was the part I hadn't prepared for. I tried to smile, but my voice cracked when I said, "I didn't know you were back." She didn't answer. Her eyes flicked around the yard, as if searching for something, or maybe trying to find the courage to speak. The lights flickered above us, and she said softly, "Can we talk somewhere quieter?" We walked past the noise and the bonfire, down toward the old swing set that sat near the fence. The grass was damp under our shoes, and the cold wind nipped at my fingers. The silence between us stretched like a rope pulled too tight. When we stopped, she turned to me and said, "I heard what you did last month." Her voice wasn't cold, it was gentle but heavy. I blinked, unsure what she meant. "I mean," she went on, "about you helping Mr. Gardner fix his porch after the flood and tutoring his nephew for free." Theo told me. I felt my stomach twist. "That wasn't anything," I said, "just something to keep busy." She looked at me for a long time before shaking her head. "No, it's not nothing. You've changed, Kai." I wanted to see that for myself. Hearing her say my name like that, soft, steady, did something strange to my chest. It's hard to explain, like she was holding up a mirror I hadn't looked into for a long time. For a few moments, neither of us spoke. The sounds of the party drifted faintly from behind us, laughter, music, the crackle of the fire. Then Ilara's tone shifted. "You probably don't know this, but the day after everything happened back then, I went to the principal's office." I looked at her, confused. "I asked them to go easy on you," she said quietly, "because I knew what you were going through. I heard about your dad losing his job, but they said it was policy, that theft had to be punished. I felt useless. I wanted to help, but I didn't know how." Her words hit me harder than I expected. All that time, I'd assumed she'd just seen me as the thief, the kid who disappointed her brother. But she'd cared. She hesitated, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. You know, when I left for college, I kept thinking about that day, about how one mistake can define someone, if people let it. But I never stopped hoping you'd find a way to define yourself again. The air between us grew warmer, even though the night was cold. I didn't know what to say. My throat felt thick. It took me a while, I managed. A long while. I hated myself for so long. I thought I'd ruined everything. You didn't, she said, her voice firm now. You stumbled, that's all. For a moment I wanted to believe her, but the truth was, life hadn't been kind. I'd worked small jobs, helped neighbors, studied at night and tried to earn back trust, but some people never let go of what they remember first. She must have seen something in my eyes because she stepped closer. Kai, that's why I came tonight. To tell you that you don't owe anyone a perfect version of yourself. The real you, the one who helps others, who tries again after failing, that's the one that matters. Her words broke something open inside me. I turned away, pretending to look at the sky, but I could feel the sting in my eyes. I wasn't the kind of guy who cried easily, but there was something about hearing her say it, hearing that someone had believed in me even when I didn't, that made it impossible to keep pretending I was fine. I don't know how long we stood there. The music, in the distance, shifted to something slow, the kind of song that belongs to quiet moments. Elara finally said, almost in a whisper, I came back home because I needed a restart too. I've made mistakes I'm not proud of, but when Theo told me about you, I realized sometimes we just need to see someone else trying to be better, to remind us we still can. It was strange how the person I'd once thought was perfect was now telling me she'd been lost too, that she needed hope just like I did. We sat on the swings side by side, not saying much. The metal chains creaked softly, and the stars blinked above us. She started talking about her new job, how she hated the city noise, how she missed the simplicity of small towns. I listened, really listened. And somewhere in that quiet, I realized something. This wasn't about romance or nostalgia. It was about two people who had both fallen, and somehow, by chance, had found each other in the middle of getting back up. When we eventually walked back toward the party, something inside me had changed. The fear that had gripped me all night was gone. Maybe people would still whisper. Maybe they'd never forget. But I wasn't running anymore. Elara stopped near the gate and smiled faintly. Promise me something, she said. What? That you'll keep showing up, even when it's hard, even when people don't see how far you've come. I nodded. Only if you do the same. She laughed quietly, and it was the kind of sound that stays with you long after it fades. She turned back toward the lights, and I knew that whatever happened after tonight, something good had been set in motion. Maybe forgiveness, maybe just the courage to start again. The next morning, as sunlight poured through my window, I found a message on my phone. It was from Elara. It said, You reminded me that kindness doesn't always come from grand gestures. Sometimes it's just someone trying again. Thank you for being that reminder. I sat there for a long time, staring at those words. Maybe life wasn't about erasing the past, but about rewriting the meaning of it. Maybe the things we regret most can still lead to the moments that heal us. And that night I decided I would keep trying. Not because I wanted to prove anything to anyone, but because someone, somewhere, believed I was worth believing in. If this story touched your heart, if you believe that people deserve forgiveness, redemption, and a second chance, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support helps us keep telling stories that remind the world that kindness still matters. Special request, comment below. Have you ever been given a second chance that changed your life? Your story might inspire someone who needs hope tonight.